I think it's safe to say things have gotten extremely ugly between Saquon Barkley and the Giants. When I made the video talking about the New York Giants offense with a lot of optimism, despite what some people think about Daniel Jones and the new receiving threats that they brought in, my biggest thought process in that video is that with Saquon Barkley, he would be a part of this thing and he would be an integral part to the future of this team because I think he's the best offensive weapon that they have to offer. Now, we understand where the running back market and how running backs are viewed in today's NFL. I think we don't have to talk about that in this video. But for Saquon Barkley and for Josh Jacobs, another guy who didn't strike a deal, when I talk about these guys, I don't think it's evenly weighted. When I talk about the impact on the offense and even looking at the statistics and how things have gone to how we cannot get a deal done. Now, when I talk about Saquon Barkley for the Giants, a receiving threat, a guy who can run the ball out of the backfield, and thinking about Brian Dable and Mike Kafka and how they've been able to really have that dominant run game that they had last season based off of a lot of inside zone, based off of some wide zone, some toss plays, different types of things that all included Saquon Barkley because he's so electric, can do everything. When we talk about guys coming out of the draft, Bijan Robinson, we see how highly coveted he was. Saquon Barkley was better than Bijan Robinson coming out of college. And that's how high and how far I'm willing to take it for Saquon Barkley. So we know that he can do everything as a runner. He can do a lot of things as a receiving threat. So now my question is, and I want to kind of gear this towards the fans for the New York Giants, because I saw it with Saquon Barkley. And recently, before, as I'm recording this video, I just saw he let out a tweet saying it is what it is. So this situation now with Saquon Barkley with the New York Giants, we're kind of at that point. Training camp's right around the door. So now I'm kind of expecting he's not going to report to training camp. So we understand what this does for a team who has some new weapons, who are trying to implement those weapons. And I want to talk about what is the next step and what are the Giants really trying to do? Because I just talked about Joe Mixon, how he took the pay cut. And regardless of what we want to say about as to why Joe Mixon took the pay cut, some teams are going to look at that and say, this is a guy who chose winning. This is a guy who we look at and we want more people to be like him. But when I look at the New York Giants, I don't see a T. Higgins. I don't see a Tyler Boyd, and I don't see a Jamar Chase, and I definitely don't see a Joe Burrow, a guy who's about to get extended. So we look at those weapons that they have. That's not a team. Joe Mixon does not equally equate to what Saquon Barkley equates to for the New York Giants. So I think that's the first thing that we got to look at. And now, when I say I want to gear this towards the fans, my question is asking you guys, are you confident in the direction of this team? And are you as confident as you were going into the season if Saquon Barkley is not a part of that offense? Because my question is, I know Eric Gray, I know Matt Breida, I know Gary Brightwell, but are those guys really going to duplicate what one Saquon Barkley could do? And I think the biggest question is, if not this season, if not because he's on the tag now. So, you know, knowing the guy that Saquon Barkley is, I expect him to play on the tag. He's going to hardball it a little bit, but I expect in the regular season, he'll be suiting up for the Giants. So now this takes us into the question, will he get traded or will he play himself into the deal that he really wants, barring injury? So now, if none of that happens, if that doesn't happen the way we expect it to, with Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, Eric Gray, are we going to, do they see something? Because I like Eric Gray coming out of Oklahoma, but I don't know. I can say confidently right now, I do not see him replacing Saquon Barkley. And I want to know, do they see something that maybe I don't see in that running back room? That's a question that I have. Another question that I have is, are we going to gear our money in the future? Are we going to gear our next offseason or possibly this season, looking at targets and weapons that we can get, which will also cater more to Daniel Jones in the passing game? Or are we going to replace him with a younger back? Now, even going to the Kansas City Chiefs, because I know that's a team that a lot of people want to point to. Isaiah Pacheco came out of Rutgers, 7th round draft pick. It came out of nowhere, ran the football. The Chiefs were able to have a very good running game going into the playoffs, going into the back half of the season. I don't think there's many Isaiah Pachecos out there. And we say running backs come a dime a dozen, but Do they really? And I think that's the biggest question that we have to have, because I say running backs, you can find them elsewhere, but it's not as easy as we make it look sometimes. It's truly not, because we see a team, they don't have a good running game, and then we say they need a running back. And then they have a good running game with a good running back. Then we say when it's time to pay the guy, we don't need him. And then we go back to a running game that's not as efficient. So we're kind of contradicting ourselves when we try to devalue this position to that extent. Now, understand, these guys, it's hard to really say that they deserve wide receiver money. It's hard to say that they deserve cornerback money. But at the end of the day, some of these guys are so valuable to the scheme, to the team. I think Saquon Barkley is one of those guys. And I just want to know what the direction is. I truly, right now, if I had to talk about it, I cannot see it, because I think he's one of those integral parts of the team. And like I said, even if they want to take the direction of the offense to gearing more towards Daniel Jones in the passing game, maybe going out and get a different receiver, opening up some cap space by not paying Saquon Barkley what he's asking for. Maybe they trade him and get some capital back. You know, maybe they go a different route, getting a different running back. It's so many options and so many avenues. But I think if you just pay the guy, none of this is necessary, because even if you want to add a receiving weapon, even if you think a cheaper running back is the best option, I think right now, this is a team who we look at it and we say they're competitive. I truly believe they are competitive. Looking at what they have, looking at the defense, the additions, Deontay Banks, Bobby Orike, some of the guys they already have, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. So expecting all of that, Kayvon Thibodeau, to get better, I can expect a team that's going to compete with Dallas Cowboys. I can expect a team that's going to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. Although in the playoffs last year, we saw some of the things that they had to work on to really get to that next level. And even in that game, I say that, you know, Daniel Jones had the early interception. And really from that point moving forward, they could not stop the run. So they did some things to add to that and help to that point this season. And also, we look at Daniel Jones. We said that he didn't perform against that team. He was against all odds. He was really facing a team who was behind, who limited in time of possession, who didn't have really the opportunities to run the offense like they wanted to in that playoff game. So there's so many things we can talk about. And all of the things that I will talk about and that I have talked about, it brings me back to the question. What do you guys think? What is the direction if it's not a Saquon Barkley involved future? Like I said, I've named some different things that are possible that they could do, but I think it's just so much easier if we don't play this hardball game and we get this guy back in our room. And I understand, you know, now Tony Pollard's been tagged, Josh Jacobs been tagged, Saquon Barkley, all of these guys haven't reached long-term deals. So now we can understand, outside of Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, guys are not getting paid what they expect to be paid. Even Austin Eckler, a guy who's talking about it, got a little restructure in his deal with incentives, but he's still not where he wants to be as far as contract negotiations. So we're talking about this position, and even guys who catch the football. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's a guy who's getting paid pretty solid, but I think that we have to truly look at this, and we can't say we're just going to use these guys up on the rookie deal, get them out of that, and then we're looking elsewhere, because some teams don't have elsewhere to look. For the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm wondering, where are they looking? So this is the question of the day. Things have gotten very ugly with this team, with Saquon Barkley, and I just want to know, where do we go from here?